So thank you everybody who joined and thank you for sharing your location. My name is Petra. Uh, I work at Mali Berlin, which is a cultural center in Trnava, Slovakia. And today I will be joined by, well, at least two people from Izolacia. First one is Mikhailo, whom you already met. Mikhailo Gluboky is development director of Izolacia, and Oksana, I will not say your last name. I'm sorry. I'm afraid I will say it very wrong. So Oksana is the director of Izolacia. Welcome. Uh, I will be the presenter for most of the time today for this presentation, which is aimed for international audiences. We are going to be talking about our project that is called ZMINA Resilience, and particularly we are going to discuss the first international open call. So let's start. First, some information about what is going on today. So this session is recorded, and if you ever feel like you want to revisit the material, it will be available on YouTube on Izolacia's channel. It will be edited a little, so you will find it like marked with chapters and perhaps also subtitles. I would also like to say that if there are people from Ukraine and you might feel you don't understand the English version too much, Ukrainian version of this event already happened and recording is already available on YouTube. So in case you need some clarifications, you can address them with the recording of the Ukrainian session as well. Now, in this session, first we will cover what ZMINA Resilience is as a project, and then for the most of the part of this session, we will talk about this open call. What are its aims, budgeting, selection criteria, some technical requirements, and we will go over the process of application. Now, the project that we are talking about today is called ZMINA Resilience. It's a very long project. It lasts for 36 months from August 2025 to August 2028. And it's a project that is co-funded by Creative Europe. Our total budget is over 2 million, and we are distributing a lot of this money to sub-grants via open calls for co-creation and for showcasing calls. We will talk about this in more detail later. This is just an overview. And I want to introduce everybody who is involved in this project. First of all, is Izolacia, which is a platform for cultural initiatives based in Kyiv, Ukraine, which is the lead partner in this project. Mali Berlin is a cultural center based in Trnava, Slovakia. This is where I work. And we are doing this with the cooperation with Trans-Europe Halls as an associated partner who are helping us with distributing information to cultural centers. Many of you, I hope, know Trans-Europe Halls as a network for independent cultural spaces in Europe. The project is called ZMINA Resilience, and it's building upon a previous project that we had. So this time we decided to focus on the resilience, and you can interpret the resilience in a very wide way. We believe that all of you, many cultural and artistic organizations are already doing a lot of work regarding resilience. You are dealing with issues and problems in your community or with your audiences. All of this can be considered as a resilience. So if you are thinking about applying for this sub-granting open call, think about the resilience in a very, very wide way. So we believe you already have a lot of experiences with solving wide issues. We just want to add that ZMINA Resilience is its main aim is to help Ukrainian organizations to develop connections with European organizations. This is particularly because of their situation in Ukraine, which is related to the war and their struggle to be more part of the European Union and Europe as a whole. So all the time when we are talking about this project, some of you may already be thinking about war-related issues. It is not required to in these projects that you need to deal with this topic. It is a heavy topic. For many Ukrainian organizations, it is very natural to speak about their experiences. So we just want to say it's not a requirement. But if you decide to deal with war issues, then I would suggest that you also need to think how to translate this struggle and these themes to European audiences. How the issues that you are going to deal with can be translated to European context. Um, During this project, we are going to have several open calls. There will be two open calls for co-creation projects. One of them is open right now, and this presentation is related to that. This open call is open until May 10th of 2026. We are going to be doing another type of open call, which is dedicated for showcasing your project. That will be a rolling call, and you can take advantage of each of these calls. So you can apply in each of the co-creation projects, you can apply in the showcasing projects. It is also okay to apply with multiple projects, but in the same open call. But the selection committee is taking this into consideration. So it is good to think ahead and think about which projects you really think are capable of gaining the support, because if you are involved in one project, only one of in multiple projects, only one project can be supported with this scheme. The objective of this call is to support co-creational project between organizations dealing with arts and culture from Ukraine and from other Creative Europe countries. The important thing is that these projects propose situations and a process in which there is a possibility and a big possibility for intercultural dialogue, to share experiences, to share skills, knowledge, something like that. And also you have to think about the theme of resilience, which, as I already said, can be presented in multiple ways. What is also important in this co-creation open call is that you have to have a presentation in each partner's country. So there's always supposed to be one partner from Ukraine and at least one partner from another Creative Europe country. So if you have a consortium of two partners, you will be required to hold two presentations of the project. If there are more than two partners, you are supposed to be holding as many presentations, as many partners you have as many countries that are involved in the project. Regarding the presentation of the project, we are not talking about like a full presentation in a theatrical way or like a full exhibition. You are supposed to create a project and to present it in some way to the public. We are aware that it might not be available or possible for Ukrainian organizations to do a live presentation. So online presentation in this case is also possible. So you are supposed to talk about your project, to discuss how it came about, the learnings of these shared experiences, outcomes of the project. This is what we mean by the presentation of the project. Now, who is eligible to apply? Well, art and cultural organizations in Creative Europe countries. For Ukraine, it is important to note that the organizations need to be registered in government-controlled territories. And the project needs to have at least two partners. So one partner from Ukraine, one partner from another Creative Europe country. The contributions to these projects, this is very important for this open call, needs to be equal, which means there are supposed to be shared responsibilities, shared creative decisions for this project. You might also think that equal contribution means very strict distribution of funds. It doesn't necessarily mean the same. That doesn't necessarily need to be like 50-50 share of funds, but the sharing of the funds needs to be reasonable or to make sense within the budget and how the project works. Now, as I mentioned earlier, audiovisual sector is excluded in this open call. This is basically due to media program, which is also under the European Commission umbrella. But it doesn't mean that you are not supposed that you cannot use film, or this also applies for game development. It doesn't mean you cannot use these artistic practices as tools within your project. It is okay to do that to come to a different outcome. Like if you want to use film to work with your community, but the outcome is not supposed to be like a feature film that is screened in a general kind of way, how usually the films are distributed in theaters. So this is what we mean by that. Important information is that if you create a new project or a new product, the intellectual property remains with you. So if you choose to develop the project, the product further later, it is available to you. Audiovisual projects are excluded from all open calls, but it's still the same answer. If you use the video art or documenting of your project as a part of a bigger activity, it is allowed. But the aim of this of all open calls is not the creation of a standalone film product or standalone game. So this was a question from the chat. What creative sectors are you thinking of? Is writing also considered? Would writing about culture in Ukraine and hosting discussion events about this be an option, or does it need to be artistic production that is funded and presented? We do not require to be artistic. I believe the culture can be interpreted in a very wide way also. Is this the answer, Mikhailo? Was I think yes.
Yeah, absolutely. As long, any types of cultural work in this context, except for film production for cinemas. So writing is absolutely fine. As long as there is cooperation process in creation of the works. For example, I could imagine literally residency or something like this. So this can definitely work, or cooperation, even research. Any type of cooperation between two countries or even more is okay for us.
We have another question. Is it possible that two dance companies, for example, one from Ukraine and one from Germany, collaborate, meaning participating artists from both countries and presenting in both venues? Or the artist must be only Ukrainian? So this is a wonderful example of what a project might look like. And it also means it would be ideal to have like equal number of dancers in the company from one company from Ukraine and the other from Germany. I just want to come back to one part of this question. It is not designed, this open call is not designed for, you don't have to have a real presentation of the dance product. Just wanted to make it clear. The presentation is supposed to present the project, not necessarily the outcome, but it's up to you how you approach this. And yes, both companies need to be represented. So on the creational level, it should both companies should be represented at the beginning, like when you're forming the idea, when you're discussing teams and who to involve, when you're discussing budgeting. In each level, there should be equal role in the project. Correct. Okay. Okay, so we already discussed this. So this is repetition, but it's always good to repeat some facts. So it is important to have international collaboration on the theme of resilience, 2 local presentations, not necessarily presentations of the work that you created, but presentations of the project, like the lessons learned, the process, and etc. 1 presentation needs to be in Ukraine, and the project duration is up to 7 months. Now, this is something that we discussed with the Q&A just now. So, equal creative management and audience development roles. You need to consider, and you need to practically use the visibility tools that will be provided to you if you have grant, if you win the grant. So you will be provided some tools and some handbook about EU visibility and branding of ZMINA resilience. So this is something that you need to comply with. And it is very important for budgeting that all costs need to occur only after your grant agreement is signed. So you cannot start the project and have expenses before the grant agreement. So at this point, I am happy to welcome Oksana, who is very much familiar with how the budgets and costs work with ZMINA resilience. So please, Oksana, take the stand.
Thank you. Now we can talk about general rules for budgeting. For this open call, the total budget is 187.500 euro. So this is the total budget. And per each grant, we can spend maximum 25,000 euro. This is only grant amount, maximum grant amount per 1 project. This grant amount can be distributed in between several partners in 1 project. For instance, if you have 2 project partners, 1 Ukrainian, 1 from another Creative Europe country, so the budget should be distributed in between 2 partners, but in total, the maximum grant amount cannot be more than 25,000 euro. This is altogether in between all the partners. And the maximum grant amount can make not more than 90% from the total budget amount. So, most simple saying, your financial contribution should be minimum 10% from the total grant amount, from the total project amount, and 90% can be, in this case, maximum grant amount. In case, for instance, you can consider that for the project you need, for instance, in total 30,000 euro, it means that maximum grant amount will be the same, 25,000 euro, and co-financing from all of the partners altogether will be 5,000 euro, which will be, of course, in this case, when recalculate, more than 10%. But we ask minimum 10% of financial contribution from all the partners. When I'm talking about co-financing, it means that all the project partners can decide themselves how this amount can be distributed in between the partners. So either it can be covered by one of the partner or shared in the equal amount in between the partners, or it can be decided that one partner, for instance, can share 70% and another partner can share only 30%. This is up to you and up to project partner's decision. We give you the flexibility to decide how the co-financing can be distributed in between the partners. The total rule is that altogether you need to reach the amount not less than 10% from the total budget amount. When we are talking about maximum grant amount, the same. How you will distribute the amounts in between the partners, it is, as Petra already told you, that this not should be like 50-50 distribution of the budget in between the partners, in case you have two partners, because sometimes the project expenses cannot be shared like very strictly 50-50%. So this is up to you how you see the project implementation, production, etc. It's up to your needs, and especially I need to emphasize that in our grants, all of the partners will receive their part of the budget directly from Izolatia. So Izolatia will pay directly only the part of Ukrainian partners directly to Ukrainian partners, and the same for international partners directly to international partners. So in this way, you can solve a lot of administratively difficult points, how to send or how to make international transfers from Ukraine to another country, because Izolatia has a special permission for such kind of payments, and for other organizations it will be much more difficult to make these transactions. So we give you the possibility to use this flexibility in budget planning. The next points for your important note is that you will receive the payments in 2 installments. So the first part will be 70% as a first tranche. We are planning to pay it after grant agreement signature and after all of selected organizations will participate in grant acceptance workshop. And the rest, it's around 30% of the total maximum grant amount will be paid after you will submit the final reports. It will be financial report and narrative report. And after you will have 1 month, so it means 30 days for report submission to us, and we will check, and after all the approval, we will plan the payment. All the details about rules and payments you can find in our model of the grant agreement, which is available on our platform. Please have a look on it and you will have much more details about it. The next point what need to be noted is administrative costs can be not more than 20% of the total budget. So, and I'm talking about this because it is needed for you when you will fill the form of the budget in our platform. You can see it. In general, what you will see in our budget and what can be eligible, we can divide into columns, and you will see it in our budget. So you will find in our budget expenses for artist work. So this is all creative persons who will work for your project with limitation of maximum 75 euro per artist per day. And these amounts are in the budget like lump sum. Please note that 75 you cannot change in the budget. It is even impossible to change this amount. You can only decide how many days you need for this budget line per each person. The international travel and local travel has the same, the maximum has the same like unit rate in lump sum with amounts of 350 euro per round trip and 65 euro per round trip for the local travel. The next line, accommodation and per diems, have the same lump amount, meaning 75 euro per night per one person. And for those who need the visa costs, so we have maximum as lump sum 80 euro per visa. For the questions from some of you who may ask what to do in case some of the expenses will be less or more, please note that we will introduce for you the detailed rules about reporting after the projects will be selected, and you will know and receive from us very detailed instruction during the grant acceptance workshop. Now for the budgeting, please accept only these meanings as for planning, and all other details will be for the next stage available for the selected applicants. Other eligible costs will be as actual costs. This is all services, production up to actual cost. You can plan for the equipment, some of the costs, but please note that equipment, it doesn't mean that you can purchase the equipment. In the case of the equipment, you can only indicate the depreciation costs. This is in the most of European grants, such kind of special notes for the expenses for equipment. In our case, the purchases of equipment is not eligible. For equipment is eligible only the depreciation costs. Then you can plan venue, hire, communication, documentation costs up to your needs. For administration, as I already told during the previous slide, please note that the maximum amount for all of the partners cannot be more than 20% of the total budget. This can be the expenses, for instance, for project manager, accountant, lawyer, or budget, or bank fees, bank transfers, etc. And one more important, that in case you have the travels more than 60 kilometers in one trip, so you can use the eco travel bonus with the amount of 300 euro per person during the project. So, and a bit later, we will present you our platform and how to fill in the budget in the platform. And I will come back to you with the details how to fill all these eligible costs in the budget lines. And we will, I will try to explain you that we try to make our platform more comfortable for your use, and how to fill all the information. And in case we will have the questions, we will talk about financial part during the Q&A session. Thank you. And I guess for my part now it is all. Colleagues, please help me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Oksana. So we're going further to the selection criteria for this open call. Now, this seems very simple. Might not be in the practice. So it is important to think about how to comply with the project and the aims of the open call. So you will find all the information on ZMINA platform, on Izolatia platform, and we will show it to you in a couple of minutes. But what is really important to us is if there is a potential for the collaboration as a space for intercultural dialogue. So this is where I would like to note that it is important that the organization, if you choose to apply with an organization, or if you are an organization that is a Ukrainian organization based in Creative Europe countries, it is important that you or the partner is working with local audiences. So the aim of this project is not to connect Ukrainian organizations in Europe with Ukrainian organizations in Ukraine. There needs to be intercultural dialogue. There needs to be sharing of skills and knowledges between cultures. Here, I would also like to add that I checked the questions in chat, and I forgot to mention that it is not important if you are an NGO. You can be a private company, and also you are eligible to apply for ZMINA Resilience Fund. Next thing that the selection committee will take into consideration is quality. So there are some cross-cutting themes that apply for ZMINA Resilience because we received this project from Creative Europe program. So these are the same cross-cutting themes that you can find in Creative Europe projects. And these are the topics that European Commission is very interested in developing. So we are talking about digital dimension. Like digitalize your work or use the digital tools as much as possible to be more green, for example, to be able to communicate over the distances, even though there is a possibility to use the grant for travel costs. It is important that a lot of this work that you are going to do happens digitally. Then think about ecological sustainability of your project, and so think about inclusion and accessibility of what you're going to prepare as a joint project. Now, it is very important that you don't skip this in your grant application. In this part, I would like to encourage you to think about what you are already doing as an organization in the digital way. What are you doing ecologically? What are you doing for inclusion? Think about where you are now, because we believe that a lot of organizations are already doing a lot of activities or are doing their activities in a way that is like digital, is sustainable and inclusive. So make sure that you mention all of what you are already doing. Think about or what you will apply to the project as well. Think about where there is a room for growth, where you can learn from your partners. So don't skip this, because it is a very important part in the selection. The quality of the partnership will be taken into consideration. So it is important that you are very concrete in how the roles will be divided. Who will do what in this project? Who will be incorporated from each project, from each partner? Finally, it will be very helpful for you if it is possible to scale your project, that you can think about who the expected audiences will be, what will be the size or the number of the presentation that you are going to do for the project. Now, impact is another criteria that is going to take that will be taken into consideration. Think about if the project can live on after you finalize these grants, after you are done with the reporting. Think about how this collaboration with your partner can live further, or how you can scale the project that you are doing thanks to this sub grant. Take into consideration how many presentations you will do. It will be great if you can share your work as much as possible. You can document it. Any means you have at your disposal. You can make documentation via film, for example. You can make podcasts. You can make a publication, for example. So all of these activities increase your impact, increase the possibility of peer learning. So think about all these things when you are filling the application. Okay. So I just want to check if there are any questions. It doesn't seem like that. Okay, so let's move on. First thing that you can expect when you apply for this grant is that people from Izolatia will do a technical eligibility check, which means that they will check if you have submitted all documents that are required for this grant. We will cover which documents those are in a little bit when we go to ZMINA, to Izolatia platform, where you will see how it looks. Then there will be an assessment by 2 independent experts. But before I go further, I just want to know that in case you do not, you will not pass the eligibility check, Izolatia will make a good effort to contact you to make sure that you have a chance to upload the correct documents again. So make sure that when you are filling the application, that you use an email address that somebody actually checks all the time, like every day, so that you don't miss the deadline for re-uploading the document. And one note from me: do not use like a general email address. Like we in Mali Berlin, we have like info@maliberlin.sk. Do not use that, because it might not be an email address that somebody really checks and knows how to work with every day. The third step is, so after the assessment of the 2 independent expert evaluators, all the projects are evaluated and have some scores. Those projects that step over some threshold of how many points they receive, they will be forwarded to the selection committee. And this incorporates people from Mali Berlin, from Izolatia, and then some independent evaluators from Ukraine and independent evaluators from Europe. So they will decide on which projects will be granted based on the quality of their project, but also based on geographic data, some sectoral and thematic diversity. And I just want to repeat that we expect a number of 7 to 10 projects to be supported in this open call. So before you apply, make sure that you have at least 2 partners, one from Ukraine. We already discussed this. Make sure that you discuss how the creation process will be divided to make it as equal as possible. Always think about skills and knowledge and other elements that can be shared between the partners when you're thinking about the shared responsibilities here. Then prepare the documents for guarantee letter, registration, and statute, which we will discuss a bit later. And the application needs to be submitted to Izolacia's platform by May 10. One final thing here, which is not noted in the presentation, if you are successful and you are awarded the grant, you need to participate in a mandatory acceptance workshop, which is something that Oksana already mentioned. It is important to be there, and it might happen. I mean, it will be more complicated if you are not present there. Okay, at this point, I'm going to give you an overview of our website with the platform for application. Michaela, is it visible? ZMINA.eu?
Yes, I can see it really well.
Thank you. So this is our brand new website where you can find all the information and all the opportunities in ZMINA Resilience project. There is an overview. I will just check if I can annotate this. Yeah. Okay. So here are some basic information about the ZMINA Resilience. This part is where you will find all the open calls. So I mentioned that there will be 2 co-creational open calls, 1 showcasing open call. This is where you will always find the information, which call is open, deadline, and everything. We are also doing a lot of supportive events online for possible applicants for ZMINA Resilience. So as you can see, we have today's session here. Then there is a Zoom meeting with applicants, which is happening every week. So you can register for it every time any open call is open. You can register and ask as many questions as possible you can think of. And there will be Izolacia people who will answer them. We are also doing matchmaking sessions. So if you are here and you don't have a partner, we are trying to help you. So register for this. It's happening on March 31, and we will do our best to find matching partners for you. Okay, let's move on. We are also having, how do I clean this? Okay, we have a library. We will be having a library. So each capacity building that's happening will be available here as an edited video. We also have some stories and practical examples of what a good project might look like. These are stories from our previous project that we had with Izolacia and Tanzero Calls. It was called ZMINA Rebuilding. So please note that this project and subgranting was designed a little bit differently. So you might find projects that do not fit this open call precisely, but you can get a very good idea on what worked before. Okay, I need to figure out how to clean what I did. Already doing. Okay. So let's take a look at the open call. So on this website, you will find all important information that we already discussed. And at the end, you can click here, and this will redirect you to a platform on Izolacia's website. I am going to transfer to English. It contains all the same information with some more. And then you go here. This is registration / create your account. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to create an account and how to proceed. So type your email, and this is like a fake email, so I want to make sure that you understand. Use a real email, use an email that somebody uses every day, every working day, I mean, so that you don't miss any important information from Izolacja. Now, make sure that you pick a time zone correctly. My time zone will be in Slovakia. Okay, because Izolacja platform will make changes to the time deadlines, for example, for you. So the deadlines apply in Kyiv time. So if you are working in a different time zone, please make sure to check the time for the deadlines to make sure that you actually have enough time to apply, to send the application. Whew. So this is what the platform looks like when you register and go inside. And what you are seeing right now is the only open code that is open, which is the co-creation funding for international projects. So let's make a new application. Now, first of all, these are the required documents that you need to fill in the application. So you need to read them, you need to sign them and upload the documents to the platform. Make sure to read the model sub-grant agreement so that you are not surprised by any details after you receive the grant. This part here is where you say that you have read it. So
If I might add one thing here, I think it's important to also to show the guarantee letter to make sure that people know where to sign it. So I can show it if you want, just to make sure that it's clear for everyone, because this is one of the problems that a lot of organizations ran into during eligibility check.
Should I stop sharing my screen?
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So on the top of the form, you can see the list of documents, and the document number 1 is a template for the letter of guarantee. And the letter of guarantee is pretty straightforward. Oops, sorry. So I encourage you, of course, to read it. It's more about making sure that you comply with different requirements for put in front of Izolacja in order to implement these projects. One of them, for example, is to make sure that the money that will be used, given to you by Izolacja, Mali Berlin, and European Commission are not used to fund Russian activities, but just make sure that you read it. And what you need to do is to sign it into two places. So here on top of it, you write the name of your organization, and that's it. And on the bottom, sorry, it's a little bit slow. On the bottom, you write the name and position of the person who has the right to sign the documents. So if you are using stamp, you also can use the stamp, but it depends on organization and local legislation. And you need to write this in two languages, here in English and here in Ukrainian. So your Ukrainian partner, if you are coming from other Creative Europe country, can help you with that. And you cannot change this guarantee letter text. So it's also a thing that some of applicants are trying to change this text or negotiate some of the things, but this is really important for us legally not to get into trouble. So if you don't agree with the text of guarantee letter, unfortunately you won't be able to apply, because even if you change the text, you won't pass through eligibility test. So have a look at it, and we only need your organization name and this letter to be signed by the person who has a right of signature. You can put it on your letterhead, of course, but it also depends on you how you just do your official documentation. And these guarantee letters has to be sent and signed by each organization that applies for funding. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, Petra.
Okay, thank you. So coming back to the platform, this is where you say that yes, you have read every document that is provided to you. So make sure that you actually do, that somebody reads them, so that you are not surprised by anything. You fill in all the information from for your organization. So at this point, you are filling it as a main partner of the project. Make sure to use a valid email address, contact information for your cell phone. So if there are any issues during any time during your project, we can use this contact information to contact you. Now, here are some information about your organization, what fields you are active in. This part is where you upload the documents that are required for your application to be considered. And you do this for every organization in the project. So you as a lead partner, you will maybe Mikhailo can just unmute yourself and add the information I'm missing.
Yeah, just the important part here is to fill in registration code, and this is the code that is assigned to your organization during registration in local registries. So in Ukraine, this is EDRPU, but then in other countries it can be anything, because we don't know all the laws in each of the countries, of course. And if you have a look on the bottom, there is this part which is called experience up. Go up a little bit. Yeah, this is called experience and cultural activities. And here, if you push the add row button.
I see. Yes.
Yeah, so can you push it for me? Yeah, so it's basically the same form as you submit during the Creative Europe applications. For example, if you have experience, so you write the donor who gave you money, what was the name of the project, the project period, your role. This can be either coordinator or beneficiary of this funding. And reported budget, this is the part of the budget that was sent to you specifically to your organization. So, for example, if you took part in a large-scale Creative Europe project for, I don't know, 300,000 euro, but your particular part of it was 13,000 or 10,000 or 1,000, you just write this, which part of the budget was specifically yours, not the average budget. And also the reported budget, please write it in euro. There are obviously some other funds that are disbursing money in different currencies, but in this case, we just converted. It's not something that legally binding, but this is something that will be helpful for evaluators to assess your previous experience.
So I would just like to add that make sure that you fill in the link, like a proper link. I made a very general link here, a proper link to your project. So before applying, it is always good to check if your previous work is presented on your website, so the evaluators can check your credentials, let's say. Okay, so you fill this for every organization as a project leader. So you ask for those information and you fill it in the application. Oksana, you would like to add something? Go ahead.
Thank you. And additional moment not to remember when you will work with the application a bit lower when it will be information about organization web link in general. Here, active links to the applicant's website.
Yes, you have to click that.
Yeah, this is, please have a look on the bottom, which is blue add. Without pressing on this bottom, our platform will not add it as actual link.
Mm-hmm. So make sure to click the add button. It needs to appear here below this. If you make any mistakes, it's always possible to delete and edit again. Thank you, Oksana. So you do this for all the organizations. So this is where you need a lot of cooperation from your partners. Make sure to pick the right partners. We will talk about this in the matchmaking event later. Okay. So you fill in all the information about the project start and project end. This tool is, I think, designed for you to not put in wrong dates. Am I correct, Michaela?
Yes. Well, the form won't allow you generally, but if it will, keep in mind that there are limitations that you won't be able. That you need to make sure that you fit into the time frame of the projects.
Yes.
Just a moment, Misha. Is it happened that it is allowed only from August? Not from July? Or maybe I'm wrong here.
I know we'll have a look at it later.
July. Okay.
It allows me to put in the first date is
yes,
1st of July.
No, it is correct. Yes, sorry.
It's correct. So this calendar should only allow you to put the dates that are available for your project to work during those dates. Make sure to mark which areas of art and culture you're going to be doing. There is also a field for you which you can type in if nothing about suits you. Now you have a lot of fields now to describe your projects. As I mentioned previously, make sure to include the information about cross-cutting issues like ecological issues, digital tools, and availability of your product to various minorities. Michaela, anything to add here? I think the fields are kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, there is, I remember you mentioning that it is important to not skip any part. So if you do not have experience with maybe some risk management for your previous projects, discuss this with your partners. Think about possibilities that might happen from your past experiences and put down some information, what you will do in case that you come that some unexpected thing happens. Okay. This is, for example, a place where you need to describe in quite a lot of details how the work will be divided between your partners. So make sure to write it as detailed as possible so that the selection committee and the evaluators can see how the work will be shared to make it equal. Here are some ideas of field about measuring and the engagement of the projects. I just want to say that just yesterday we had a webinar on monitoring and evaluation of cultural projects. It will be available in the library, and you will find a lot of easy information on how to start taking care of this measuring of your projects and some ideas how to proceed. So in case you are not sure at this point, check out the library. The event was called Foundation of Impact, Monitoring and Evaluation. It was very easy and friendly for beginners. Okay, so after you describe the project, then you go ahead and fill in the budget. Make sure that you take a look at the overall things that you can put in the budget. I want to repeat an information from the budget part of the presentation that here you are supposed to put information. Oksana will do this part again.
Yes, thank you. Okay. And maybe I will be very thankful in case you can assist me showing some information on the screen. So our budget is available for filling in directly in the platform. So no necessity to use Excel files, etc., and upload additional information. So for the first budget line, this is budget line only for artist time, and you can using add item bottom create as needed lines as you need for artists. For instance, artist 1, you can see that units is already like some strict information what you cannot change. You can only add the quantity of days. So, for instance, 10 days for artist 1. Let's make it 10. And then in the next column, you need to select partner 1 or partner 2 or partner 3. And here for you to understand who is partner 1. This is the first organization whom you indicate in the application. So the first organization is organization 1, so it means partner 1. Organization 2 means partner 2. So, and in this case, you will understand in the same way how Izolatia will understand during grant agreement signature. So in case you need to use contribution, so if you need, for instance, to pay or to cover one artist 1 with 10 days using your own contribution, so like additional financing, not grant amounts. So you make like the last box indicating that this is on contribution. What to do in case you need to split, for instance, 5 days as grant amounts and 5 days as your own contribution. So you indicate in the next item, or in the item 1.2, artist 1, and then 5 days in the line 1.1, you indicate 5 days as your own contribution, and in the line 1.2 as grant. And you can split it in between partners using the number of the partners. The same system is for travels. The same system you can use for filling in all the budget lines. And when we come down to the end of the budget, you can see that in the line 10, budget line 10, management and administrative costs, it is automatically calculating as subtotal, showing you that maximum it can be only 225 euro, because as you remember, we indicated only like small amount in the line 1.1, 1.2. Definitely when you will indicate much more amounts here in the subtotal, we will recalculate up to the total grant budget, and we'll show you what the maximum 20% can be for your management and administrative costs. And in the and below you can see that automatically our system is presenting you how your budget is divided in between the partners, partner 1 and partner 3, and you can see the statistic, how many amounts for grant amount, what amount is for your own contribution, and you can see the amount of total project budget. And now for the co-financing, we see that the amount is without errors, because in case something is not correct, our platform is alarming you, showing that something is not correct, either in the amount or percentage of the co-financing, it is showing you and alarming that something is not wrong, is not correct. And now in this case, you cannot see any alarming notes. So, but they, definitely the grant amount is very small, but this is only as a sample. So from my side for just now, it is all. And in case we will have the questions, I'm with you to help with the budgeting and financing. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to add that you are filling in information about the whole budget of your project. The system will allow you to request 25,000 euros, and your budget should, if you request the maximum amount, then your overall budget should be bigger to incorporate your co-financing. Is that correct? I'm hoping. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mikhail. Make sure to fill in everything. It is important to say that you can always save a draft of this. Save draft. And then go over this again and again to tweak it with your partners, to talk about what to do. The system will show you which fields you did not fill, and you still need to address those. So always saving the draft with errors is possible, but make sure to have everything filled in once you are prepared to submit the application. Okay. I think the application platform is covered totally. Now, if you have any questions, use the Q&A or use the chat now. I will post you some information now in the chat. And we will continue for a little bit longer, but I assure you it's not going to be too much. It's not working for me for some reason. Okay. So what I'm posting to the chat are some links that you might find useful and some information. And I will go over that in a second. So if you have any questions or any thing that you want to find out about ZMINA, ZMINA.eu is our main website where you can find all the opportunities, all the events, and all the information about international cooperation fund open calls. You can also find a link to the survey there, but I will come to the survey once again. And I'm going to share back the presentation because there are still some things that we need to discuss. So after you are done with your application, this is what you can expect to happen in the next couple of months. So the open call is ending on May 10th. Before that, you can take advantage of the matchmaking session, which is happening next week, in case you do not have a partner yet. So you have like 1.5 months to prepare your application, and the deadline is May 10th. So make sure to check the time for the deadline for your time zone. The Izolacja platform will adjust the time for you when you set it in your account. Now in May, there will be the technical check. So Izolacja will be checking the documents that you provide, and they will ask you to provide the documents you did not provide in case that happens. So make sure to check your emails, your other contacts, and everything. In June, you can expect the results to be announced, and in July, you should be able to sign the contracts. Now, this depends on your ability to go to the work acceptance workshop to comply with steps that Izolacja will inform you about. And from July 2026 to January 2027, this should be the implementation period of your project. I would like to stress that this is indicative. So every time you work with people, changes happen in your schedule. So Izolacja will keep you informed on everything. Make sure to check your communication channels for that. Now, I mentioned this before, in case you do not have a partner or you are looking for additional partners in your projects, we are doing a matchmaking session. You can scan the QR code and register. You can come and present your project. If you already have something in mind, in case you don't, you can just come and listen to what other projects people are doing, and you can ask to join their projects, to be a partner in those projects. And before we end, I would like to give you an opportunity to check out this capacity building that we are doing, which is very related to what we discussed here. It's about funding and donor relations. In this case, Izolacja, Mali Berlin, and ZMINA Resilience is your donor in case you apply for ZMINA Resilience. So this will be very helpful to you. It's happening on April the 1st, and we are having a very experienced trainer, Fairuz Tamimi. Registration is still open, so we would like to invite you here also. Now, I sent you the link for the survey in the chat. I would like you to take a look at it now. I also sent the links for the matchmaking and for the open call and for the capacity building event. But we would really like to have your feedback for this session. Okay, there are some information that is not supposed to be there. But also, if in case you have not registered for our newsletter, you have a link for that also in the chat. We distribute all the information about open calls, about capacity buildings, and other supportive events for this ZMINA Resilience project. So if you are interested, go there, sign up. You will not miss anything. Once again, please give us your feedback. We really want it. And we would like to keep in touch. with you. So if you have any questions, you can use email address hi@zmina.eu. There is frequently asked questions for ZMINA resilience on platform izolacja.org. And there are weekly Q&A sessions which you can register for on the platform. So this is a good idea to do if you still have some questions or how to interpret some open call details. Izolacja people are always there every Tuesday, I think. So this is everything from me. Mikhail, is there anything else?
No, thank you so much. I think we can receive a couple of questions at the moment. So I will answer the question in Q&A. The question is, can one partner be an NGO in Ukraine, another one is NGO in Germany, but one that carries out activities for Ukrainians abroad? So potentially yes, but as long as you involve local German artists, or not specifically German, but people from Germany into your project. Because if it's going to be a project between Ukrainian artists and Ukrainian displaced people in Germany, there is not going to be cultural exchange. This is going to be just Ukrainian projects in Germany. So what we need is to have local audiences of both countries involved into the work. But of course, if you will involve German artists, for example, or people who have experience working with displaced people or refugees, or there is a lot of different possibilities there, then this type of project is eligible. At the same time, I want to bring your attention to project Culture Helps that is implemented by Svita, that specifically is designed to use artistic and cultural instruments to work with displaced people in Ukraine and in other countries. So maybe if this is the focus of your work, maybe this different call will work better for you.
We are waiting if some other question pops up.
Yeah, at this point, you can raise your hand if you want to ask a question with your voice, or you can write it anywhere. We will read it and we'll try to answer. I think at this point, while you're probably typing your questions, I also need to emphasize on the fact that this project have to be this co-creation projects of artistic or cultural work together. So it's not required for you to have a big exhibition or performance or play presented at the theater, because this is the different type of call that we will announce in June, where you will be able to apply for funds specifically for showcasing of your work. So if you're going to do a workshop or a residency for artists to work in other country together with local artists and to develop some cultural work together, the only requirement for you is to have presentation of results, which can be an hour event in your space or online, and those presentations have to be targeted towards audiences in both countries. So you can have one presentation in Ukrainian, let's say, another presentation in German or whatever, where the second organization is coming from. So there is no requirement to have a large scale visible event. This is, I think, this gives also quite a lot of opportunities to develop projects that are more about cooperation and learning from each other than developing the project that are specifically targeted for visibility.
We have a question in the Q&A. If the one partner, in this example, theater partner, must be a non-profit must have a non-profit status in this call, or could it be a private legal entity? It could be a private company, of course.
As you wrote, this can be any organization that is legally registered in. As you are representing Slovenian organizations for organizations from other Creative Europe countries, this can be any organization that is legally registered. Oksana, do you want to?
I need to clarify that sometimes a meaning of private legal entity cannot be equal the organization. So please, to have no misunderstanding, pay attention that only organizations can participate. In case, for instance, in Ukraine, we have so-called FOP. This is individual physical person with who makes individual work. This is like independent entrepreneur. It has a legal status, but it is not the organization. In Ukraine, the FOP, so individual entrepreneurs, cannot participate, only organization. Speaking about international partners, so only organization can be participants and eligible for this call. Speaking about the status non-for-profit or profit, it doesn't matter. In our open call, you have no rule about this. So in best case, of course, for us, it will be the if organization has the status of not-for-profit. This is the best scenario, but we have no limitation for the organization who hasn't such not-for-profit status. In this case, you need yourself to check if you need to pay some kind of taxes in case you receive the grants. So I very hope that this is clear now for you. But in case you need some kind of once again to repeat or discuss, you can join to our Tuesday meetings with Izolatia team, and once again we can discuss it. Or you can write us additionally the mail, or if now you will have much more information about this topic, please indicate what kind of information it is missing for you now. Thank you.
So to sum up, you do not have to have a non-profit status, but you need to be an organization, not an individual artist. As we saw, the application process is not simple, and the process of administrating grant is also require a lot of time. So make sure that you have personal support for this. So this question is asked. There is also another question about the same kind of open call, if it will be available next year. Mikhail, do you have this in mind? Like, when is the timeline for this?
Yeah, we are going to have calls. We are going to have rolling calls open for showcasing, which will be open basically every 2-3 months, all the way in 2026 and 2027. So you can follow up on them. I cannot tell you, to be honest, at this moment. Yeah, I mean, you should be able to use them to implement projects in September 2027, but it depends on the project and what you want to do, because this is going to be different type of support for showcasing of existing cultural works.
But I think the question was aimed at co-creation or open call, because I said that there will be 2. So I'm trying to find.
Yeah, the second co-creation call is going to be in October 2026. So, well, most likely is going to happen in October 2026. So, yeah, this is something that won't help to do work in September 2027.
Okay, another question. Some project is going to take place in September 26, but this year we will work on his constitution with some displacements.
One more thing that I want to add to this question, to this answer, I would say, is that the structure of the call is designed in a way that we want applicants to be able to get funding for co-creation, and then to use funding for showcasing to present their work. So, for example, if you want to do this co-creation right now, to develop a project, to develop an artwork, I don't know, the lead number of artworks or research or anything, then apply for showcasing to present this work that had been done in in co-creation call, then it's absolutely possible. There won't be any preferences for this application. So, if you receive co-creation grant, you won't have priority while applying for showcasing, but in theory it's possible. So if you can apply and receive money to develop your project now, and then you can apply again next year and to present this project elsewhere, it's also possible.
So, final question. What partner should I have in Ukraine? Is it supposed to be a cultural entity? We always say that it should be artistic or cultural organization or artistic or cultural project, but you should have an experience in these fields before. That's why there are fields to fill in the application about your experiences before that. And I would like to invite you again to the matchmaking in case you don't have a partner, because here you can actually find someone who fits your profile and who fits your project that you have in mind. In case that you are interested, there is the library of previous projects from ZMINA Rebuilding on ZMINA EU. You can find it in the stories at the bottom of the page. So here you can always find which organizations participated in the projects, and you can maybe ask them, get in touch with them to ask them if they want to participate in a project with you. So this is what we can offer you at this point, a possibility to get to know somebody or a possibility to research our library of previous projects from our previous ZMINA Rebuilding project.
Maybe one thing to add about eligibility of organizations. We don't have a requirement for the age of organization. So it's also in frequent question about if the young organizations can apply, or do they need to have 3-4 years of experiences. But at this point, we are open for applications from organization of any age. But the experience of the team members and how you see your structure of your project is what matters.
Yeah, so I came back to the ZMINA.eu website. When you scroll down, you can see the stories from the previous project. So this is where you can find inspiration or a possible partner in case you are not able to be at the matchmaking. And we are going to be doing matchmaking and networking events for each of these open calls that we are doing. So that's why it is a very good idea to sign up for our newsletter so you don't miss any of these opportunities. Okay, I think that we're done. Thank you all for coming. I would like to especially thank Mikhailo and Oksana for their contributions, because I am not as fluent in the application process and Izolatia platform as they are, because they built it from their experiences and for the requirements of the project. So thank you very much. I hope that you found this informative and that we encouraged you to find partnerships and to build some new projects internationally.
Thank you so much, Petra. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us today. We'll send you follow-up with links and the recording for this event, and hope to see you soon at our next events.
Yes, and please don't forget to fill in a survey. We are very hoping to get the feedback. Bye-bye.